right, ladies and gentlemen, Chef Nooner here in the TCD kitchen. We're going to start with our Giardinera. Here I am at our kitchen table, just like you guys work at. Before I get started, underneath the sanitation bucket, also a place for my dirty dishes, is a bus tub. You could use a sheet tray, but that's what we do before we get set. Take a look at our setup here. We've got typed recipe in the sheet protector. I've got my washed produce. I've got my working station and containers for my finished products. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. We're going to start off by kind of cleaning up some of our ingredients. I like to lay out a little plastic wrap for that. These peelers are awesome. They go both ways, up and down, save twice the amount of time. The reason we do it onto a little plastic wrap is so that it can be picked up easily and removed. So I'm gonna go ahead and peel. While I'm cleaning, we'll go ahead and just clean up the rest of the vegetables. So my celery, the bottom tends to be a little bit bitter and flavorless. I'm going to get rid of some of these whiter pieces. The leaves we could save for another project, but I'm going to discard them today. My onion, I'm going to go ahead and cut north to south, if you will, through the root. The root is going to help us keep this thing intact and hold it together for us when we cut. I like to trim off the top a little bit, and then I can peel back that outer layer. Okay? So whenever we're cutting onions in half for sharing or whatever, always through that root end. The root kind of holds this in half, never the other way, unless we're making something like onion rings. My cauliflower, I'm just going to turn over and kind of peel back some of these bigger leaves to expose the inside. We'll go ahead and just cut that guy in half. Okay, once we're in half, you can see the root or stem. I'm going to go ahead and just cut that out, and gives us all the nice little florets. We'll go ahead and get rid of any stickers from our peppers. And once we have our vegetables kind of cleaned up, I can pick up my food waste and go into my garbage bin just like that, with very little mess. So going forward with our vegetables, there's a number of different ways to cut these. Some chefs might have you shave down the side like that and do kind of 4 sides of a pepper. It's tall, we want to lay it down flat, and we cut off that bottom. This gives us a little bit of waste here at the top, so I'll show you another method. I like pepper flat, cut in half. Once we have it in half, I then take the top part here and push in towards, and that gives me that full pepper so I don't waste it. Okay, slap out any seeds. Again, very important, you guys are cleaning as you go, right? So once we have pepper cleaned, do the other one. Seeds and stems tend to be a little bit bitter, so we're gonna remove them all. I'm gonna do the same thing with the jalapeno. The jalapeno is a little bit smaller, so I actually like to just take it and cut it in quarters, and then place it on the edge of my board here. Come in and remove the seeds with the tip of my knife that way. If I'm going too fast at all, you can always slow the video down, rewind, but we do want to just be timely with what we're doing. Again, it's not a race. We want you guys to be accurate with your cuts. We want you to be safe with your cuts. So don't feel like you need to be up to speed. That's that. So let's go ahead and get started cutting. So red pepper's kind of long like this. I like to first kind of come in and make it reasonable chunks or pieces for me to deal with, and kind of press it flat on the cutting board. If you want, we can come in and remove just a little bit of that inside, that pit, right? Watch your fingers, and we'll remove just some of that. A little bitter, a little bit flavorless, okay? Once we have our pepper nice and flat, we're going to protect that thumb, and with a good grip on the knife in the center, we're gonna go ahead, and the cutting motion is down and through, down and through, down and through. Again, it's not erased. We want you to do these nice and accurately, okay? Once you get them into your little strips, sometimes referred to as a julienne, then go ahead and stack those up, and again, down and through. And it's not erased. You just want them to be nice and petite. For this recipe, I kind of like it on this smaller end, sometimes referred to as a brunoise. I think it just eats better than larger chunks. If we're gonna have it as a spread on a sandwich or even in a salad, for me, things eat better when they're a little bit small. As we move on, remember to use your bench scraper to clean up your board, okay? And into your little containers off to the side. I'm not using gloves just for the purposes of this video, so you can kind of see my hands, but when you're here in the TCD kitchen, we're gonna ask that you do wear gloves. Moving on to the carrot, we've got a round object. First, I'm going to, I think, go ahead and cut this into 3 pieces just to make it a little bit more manageable, right? If we need to make a round object into a dice or a cube, we need to first square it up. So I create one edge, rotate one edge. Essentially, we're just shaving the rounded edges off to give us somewhat of a square object, right? These in a professional kitchen would then get repurposed or chopped up into stock or put them into soups. I'm gonna have you guys cut them into the dice, but we'll go ahead and cut your planks off of here. Okay, nice and petite. Once you have your planks, we then can stack a few planks on top of each other, and you're gonna cut your little matchsticks, right? If they're not comfortable with stacking, you can do one at a time. Again, not a race, but we want you to work quickly, but start with accuracy first. Once you have your little julienne, right, piece, I'm gonna go ahead and stack those just like the pepper. The carrots are pretty hard vegetables, so I really want to make sure that these are nice and petite, so nobody gets any big chunks in their Giardinera mixture. All of the vegetables we're using here are just part of our preference. You could use more or less of them if you want. You could certainly introduce other items as well. We just find that these are nice to practice the knife cuts with, and also are good in flavor. So again, we clean in between each item, right? So a fresh start each time. Go ahead and move on to kind of this pepper here, a little different shape. So again, you can cut it in half to make it a little bit more reasonable. We can then take this flat part, set it down, come in and just carefully remove some of the inside, rocking back and forth. Just be mindful of your fingers. Discard, and then we'll cut that into those thin strips. You want to try to practice keeping the tip of the knife on the board. And again, the motion is down and through, not just straight up and down. Sometimes if you go straight up and down, you don't cut all the way through the pepper. Also, you'll note that I'm keeping the skin side of the pepper facing down. That just, I find that the knife goes through it much easier than if the skin side were up. Okay. So we're rocking through these nice and petite and brunoise. This is a poblano pepper. It's got some mild heat to it. Okay. The carrots. Celery is probably the easiest one to do here. So the celery, once we have it cleaned up, again, into manageable chunks. I like to take that U shape, kind of hold it up on its side there, and cut and kind of turn, and you'll get these little matchsticks from it. Once you have your matchsticks, again, good technique, down and through. Celery provides not a whole lot of flavor, but tons of crunch to the Giardinera. So we get that done really quick and easy. That's, if you're gonna practice, that's probably the easiest vegetable to practice on, just because of the shape and the way it's done. We'll move on to the onion. Okay, so the onion, we've got that root end intact. I like it on my left. Okay, I take the onion with closest to me on the board, take the heel of the knife, and I come in and I drag towards me, okay, with one smooth little stroke. If that's not comfortable, what we recommend is to take that root end, set it down on the board, and while holding the onion like this in place, going down and through. I like to make 2 or 3 strokes that way, okay, and we went to the root, not through the root. Once we have that, I make some vertical cuts with the tip of my knife, okay, about 1/8 of an inch apart from one another, kind of holding the onion intact so it doesn't fall apart. Again, with the tip of the blade, we're going to the root, not through the root. Okay, if some pieces fall out, you can go ahead and just give those a quick little dice, okay? And now we've got 2 horizontal and several vertical going to that root and not through it. Once we have that, kind of a knuckleball approach to the holding of the onion, okay? And we're gonna come in and cut off our little dice and go all the way down until you get to that root end, okay? If you find that some of your cuts aren't even at this point, what you can do is kind of take a rocking motion, hand on top of the blade, and we kind of up and down just to kind of maybe get some of those pieces that are oddly shaped, okay? Again, we're cleaning as we go, onion in. If that was not comfortable, cutting it that way, what we recommend sometimes for you is to actually just take this in pieces. So I got that other half here, right? I'm actually gonna remove the stem end now. And what I like to do is take a few layers of the onion. Ogres have layers. Right, and once we have those layers, you can lay them flat like the pepper on the board. This, for a beginner, is going to be much easier than the other way, but it's not the most efficient. So once you have your julienne cut, then go ahead and cut your little dice. Again, accuracy being the key, right after safety. And then speed. So safety first, then accuracy, then speed will come. You get our nice little dice there. Okay. Last 2 items, we've got our cauliflower florets here. We're gonna come in kind of holding the bottom. I like to just come in and kind of take off some little trees, if you will. Okay, we're gonna do a couple things to this. The cauliflower, little pieces, you could use a paring knife if you're not comfortable with the large knife, but we wanna cut these just into little florets, little pieces. These will be the biggest pieces in the mixture. We just wanna be careful that the stem pieces we cut up nice and small. So once we handle the florets like that, you've kind of got this stem piece, this odd shape. It would be, again, good for soup, but for this, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna cut it into those planks, just like any other vegetable that we've done so far. Once you have your flat planks, you can kind of lay them out and cut them into your julienne, if you will, rough. And then we turn the other direction and dice up the cauliflower. Again, using some of the roots. Again, a quick little chop. That motion, again, hand on top, back and forth. We want that very small, okay? We have all of our veggies lined up, cleaning as we go. The last little bit here is the habanero. Safety note with the habanero, I'm even gonna wear gloves, even with the video going, because it's very hot, okay? So this will be the last thing I cut. Anything that's cut after this, or that touches this, will get a little bit of heat. So I like to go ahead, just like all of the other vegetables, cut it in quarters, and then come in, remove some of that inner pith and seeds, right? With the tip of your knife. If while you're cutting this, it pops up and maybe squirts you in the eye a little bit, do not rub your eyes. What you're gonna do is just get a wet cloth, and we're gonna press that wet cloth onto your face. Okay, but it shouldn't be too bad. So once we have our little planks, I can smell the heat from this. We're gonna cut it into our little juliennes. Okay. Once you have your juliennes done up, again, it's just small. With the glove, it's a little difficult to get a hold of. We'll turn those sideways and give them a dice the other way. Again, you can smell the heat and almost feel it just coming off this pepper. That's why they're kind of so small. In general, the smaller the pepper, the hotter it is. So I'm gonna make sure I max that up really good. It's a small, fine mince, okay? And we will move that on. Okay, I'm not gonna cut all of the veggies for the purpose of this video. We do want to make sure that we clean our station as we go, right? Wipe down your space, and then properly dispose of all this. What we're gonna do is, as a class, cut all of the veggies, and then we will then follow the recipe as a group, as a class. So individuals will cut the veggies. We'll then combine them into a group. And so what we have here is the other day, all of the veggies cut, and they were just salted. Okay, we just put a good amount of salt on them, and you can see that they start to weep some moisture at the bottom. And so the vegetables are containing mostly moisture, and so the salt pulls that moisture out, and once the moisture is pulled out, bad bacteria can't really thrive. Bacteria needs moisture, moist environment to survive. So we pull that water out. We'll then rinse it several times to get rid of the salty flavor. Once it's rinsed, we then add in our flavorings like olive oil and vinegar and our seasonings. And basically that starts to seep back into and replace that water that we pulled out. Your science teachers would call it osmosis, and what's the other one? Osmosis, and I'll get back to you on it. But it means equilibrium, homeostasis maybe. Not making things up, but just doing a little science. So if you're at home, practice safety. If you're here, practice safety. And we got plenty of vegetables to cut. So that's Chef Nooner signing out.